Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Scraptember and 30 Days of Sketches. We are on day 13 and I have a really fun one today. I really thought this sketch was kind of fun and so I followed it fairly closely. I started off by going to my sewing machine, which is off camera. So when you see that white paper, you can see a starburst of gold thread. And so I basically drew a vertical line and a horizontal line on my paper right through the center, and then I kind of drew from corner to corner the diagonals, and then I filled in the other spots without measuring and knowing that I didn't want them exactly like spaced out. The first 4 lines that I drew, the diagonals and the horizontal and vertical lines, I did those exact. So that would give me a good measurement so that things would not look lopsided. And then all of the ones that I did, pardon me, in between, I did not measure because then it would look like it was too perfect and too evenly spaced, I guess is maybe just the right way to say it. I wanted it to look a little bit haphazard or a little bit like a starburst would be. It's not perfect. And so I didn't measure how far out I was going with my stitching other than those first 4 lines that I drew. And so I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I pulled all my threads through the back and I adhered them down with some washi tape. And now I am just using a bunch of stars to create this big starburst effect that is in the sketch. And so you saw me there with those 2 punches. I have an orange one, a dark orange one, and a light orange one, or a red orange one and an orange one. I don't know. And those, I just got those on Amazon. I will try to remember to put the link down below for you to what those are. And they punch an embossed star, and you can see the stars on the right hand side there. They kind of come to a point in the center, or they have a ridge line across each star, each point of the star. And so I really like how that turned out. And then my friend had this punch that I'm using right now, which is star confetti. And so I punched that out of each of the papers too. So I have this gold foil paper. I'm punching all different sizes of stars out of. And then I have this gold mirror paper from Tonic Studios. And then the large gold ones are just white cardstock that I used some minor 49er from Shimmers on. And so that's just like the little watercolor pot of paint. I just sprayed my liquid into that little pot and pulled up some of the paint and brushed it on. And same with those hollowed out stars. Those are actually the outline of the large stars that I cut on my silhouette. So in case you were wondering where all these stars came from. So I didn't have to go buy anything. I had the paper and everything already in my stash. And so it made it really simple. And I really like that there's lots of different shades of gold, or finishes of gold, if you will. And so I start out by placing my largest ones and then work my way down to my smaller ones. And I really like how it's coming together. And so the ones that were punched out of those orange punches, because they have an embossed look to them, I put a tiny bit of foam tape in the center so that they don't get squashed down in the album. And so that's what I was doing right there. I was just using a little bit of foam tape and sticking it underneath each one of those stars that are raised up. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. I like that it looks balanced, but not the same from side to side. So I don't want it matchy-matchy, but I do want it balanced. And so that makes me pretty happy with how it is. And then I decide I'm going to go ahead and put my photo down. If you saw that big section in the middle of the starburst, when I was doing my stitching, I had drawn a line to where my photo would be, or a little bit smaller than where my photo would be, so that I would stitch all the way up into that line, and then I would lift the foot and the needle of my sewing machine, and then I would continue on the other side. So all of those strings in the middle, they are just strings. They are not actually sewn through the paper because I didn't want the paper to be so perforated underneath the photo, because all of those stitching areas would be so close together that it might rip. So like I said, once I got to where knew the photo would be, I would lift the foot and then I would put it down on the opposite side just before the photo edge started, so that it looks like the line goes all the way through, but it doesn't really. And then, as you saw there, I did trim down the outside of my paper by 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides, so that I'll have a nice 1/8 of an inch reveal and be able to have it framed by a piece of cardstock. And I'm just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to hold everything down. It dries relatively quickly, and so that makes me really happy because I don't have to sit there and hold everything for quite some time. If you watch my channel, you might know that I also use my acrylic blocks to hold things down while I'm working on stuff. I'll just set it on top, and it's really hard to actually even see it in the video sometimes because the acrylic block is so clear. Once it's down, you don't really even notice that it's there. But it does work very well, because sometimes when you're using the liquid adhesive, something can tend to either curl up or it's not all the way flat and the glue starts to dry, so it doesn't actually adhere to the paper. So by putting that little bit of weight on there, it just holds it until everything is set in place. So you might be wondering what the photo is of. If your screen is really small, you might not be able to tell. It is actually when my son got his driver's license. And so the photo is from 2014. It's quite old, but I have never documented it before. And I know he looks like he's in a lineup there. He doesn't look super happy, but he was happy, trust me. I don't know what kid isn't happy when they get their license. He probably wasn't very happy getting his photo taken, is what it really boiled down to. But you know, at this point, he doesn't mind. And so he's actually seen the layout. He's seen the picture, and he's like, oh, I didn't even know you had that photo. But it is when he got his driver's license. So I thought this was a really great layout or sketch to use for this, because, you know, sometimes you do feel like a shining star in life. And especially when you have really big wins, like, you know, passing big tests, whether they be a driver's test or, you know, your tests to get into college or wherever you happen to be testing. You know, it's just one of those things. So I definitely wanted to document it and give him a little bit of something special. So I have this acrylic piece. This is from Bella Boulevard. It's been in my stash for, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you, probably 5 or 6 years. And so it is white, and I don't want it white. So I have this Liquitex acrylic ink. Is it acrylic ink? I think so. But anyway, it's ink. And so what I did was earlier I tested it on one little piece on the back of that piece of acrylic, because I wasn't sure how it would dry, and it dried fine. And so I was just brushing it onto the front and taking a break from placing all of those stars, so that the acrylic piece would have time to dry while I was doing all of this busy work of adding these tiny, tiny stars. And when I say tiny, some of them are so tiny, but it's so worth it to put that effort in. And this is one of those things where you go, when do you stop? And I basically stopped when all the tiniest stars were used up, because to get this look, you really have to use a lot of them. You can't just put, you know, 4 or 5 on each side and have it make it look like a big burst. It looks like you've got too much white space, at least for my opinion, or the way that I would do it. So this is one of those times when you just have to like really just buckle down and work on it. And I did speed this video up quite a bit. Like, yeah, I think we're up to like maybe 800%. So as you can tell, this was quite a lengthy process, but doesn't require a whole lot of, I don't want to say it doesn't require a whole lot of thought. It really is a little bit of busy work. So if this is something that's great to do if you're watching, kind of like watching TV, and It's not something you have to think a whole lot about. You can have a conversation while you're doing it. So it's definitely worth the effort though, because I really love the way that it turns out. And while I finish that up, I will remind you to check out everyone who is playing along with 30 Days of Sketches and Scraptember. Now, 30 Days of Sketches doesn't just happen this month. In fact, it doesn't even normally happen in September. It's normally August, February and June, August, March and June, something like that. So it happens 3 times a year, and it's not usually in September. So this is kind of like a little bit special. And so we are doing 30 Days of Sketches and Scraptember. We have a different prompt every day, and like I mentioned. And so the prompt today is to use stars. And so I think I definitely fulfilled that that part of the challenge. So the sketch is very close and closely resembles the layout that I've done, and I definitely have stars, so I think I'm good. I put a second layer of the acrylic ink. I keep wanting to call it paint. It is not paint, it's ink. The Liquitex acrylic ink onto that acrylic piece, because it just needed another layer. It wasn't quite dark enough for my liking. And then I have these little glue dots. They're from Eileen's, and they come in this little plastic bag. I think I got them from a place we have here called Resource Area for Teachers. And you can go in, and you have to be like a teacher or a Girl Scout leader or 4-H leader. And so I've had these for many years because I bought it back when I was a 4-H leader. But they're little individual glue dots. And so I'm trying to use them up because they've been in my stash for quite some time. But they are great for travel because they're just in a plastic bag and they're cheap and they're lightweight. So, but they work great for the acrylic pieces, and so that's why I am going to go ahead and use those here. I had a little bit of it that was sticking out behind one of the really narrow pieces of the acrylic, and so I'm just kind of like tucking it under, and it keeps sticking to my tweezers, and that's what I'm doing there. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. We are getting close to the end here, and the close-ups will be coming along very, very soon. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video, and I hope that you come back tomorrow because I will have another video for you. I am actually going to complete the entire 30 days of sketches, and so I'll have something new every day for this month, and I hope that you enjoy it and that you get a lot of inspiration. And don't forget, there's tons of inspiration on all of the other channels down below, so you can go and check them out at any point. If you don't have time right now, they will be here for forever. So come back and check it out if there's something that you're interested in. So if you don't mind hitting that like button, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.